Welcome back for the fourth installment of our early stage angel VC SmackDown. Today the topic is something that, funnily enough, came from one of your 3,000 word blog posts. You mentioned that a lot of the innovation in this space is coming from super angels outside the valley. Is this just another example of when startups shake up the establishment? Is Sand Hill Road being permanently shaken up the way Oracle has been, the way Microsoft has been, the way tech behemoths have been in the past?
I think so. I think the incumbents are Valley VCs who have got a model that's working, and for them, at least for the big ones, I think they think it's working. Management fees are great. If you're a $500 million fund, management fees are awesome
Assume you
business.
agree.
What, that they're great?
Yeah.
No, the really great venture funds have always made way more money in carry than management fees.
Agreed, but that's probably less than 20% of the industry that actually makes money on carry. Right, so there's another 80% of the market that's fat and happy on management fees over there. They have no reason to.
I think they're fat and unhappy because the reality is that they would love to make carry, they just can't, right? So maybe they're fat.
Okay, but they get.
Okay, let's get back to the point.
Takes them 10
Center
years
of gravity
to get
of
fired.
investing, is it moving from Silicon
Not
Valley?
at all. If you look at what happens with companies when they do well, they take money from Silicon Valley. So I'd say some unreasonable chunk of them come to Silicon Valley, and
right.
Some even larger and more reasonable chunk of them take money from Silicon Valley. Look, I was just in Chicago, where Groupon, they should all be, completely worshiping at the feet of Groupon. But all of that money,
Groupon's making bank.
A big chunk of that money came from Silicon Valley. It didn't come from Chicago. If you're a Chicago investor and the money is coming from Silicon Valley, to the biggest deal that's happened to Chicago in the web, that's a bummer. I'm just saying.
Well, I'm just saying there's certain people who I think have been doing a great job innovating who aren't traditional Valley folks. So Josh Koppelman's sort of the Valley, but that fund's out of Philly. Chris Dixon's out of New York. Mark Suster, maybe not a whole lot of investments that he's done two companies successfully. He's in LA, and Chris Dixon and Suster are two of the largest voices on the blogs right now. Jeff Clavier came from France originally. We have French entrepreneurs innovating.
But he is in Silicon Valley. Most of Silicon Valley.
But I do think, this is again an old Silicon Valley story. A lot of the innovation is coming from outside Silicon Valley. I agree, it's coming into Silicon Valley.
I do think it's interesting though on the angel
Beijing
level.
and Israel and India are doing some really cool stuff.
But I think it's to stick with the angel level. I do think it's interesting that so many of the super angels are doing business outside of Silicon Valley. That was the category where supposedly you had to be here, be friends with people, see them, at Evia, see them at Cuppa Cafe.
Look at Paul Graham, right? He used to have Y Combinator in the summer in Boston, and I was at a demo day where he said to the crowd, "You Boston VCs won't take any risk." Mm-hmm. So I have some Silicon Valley types here, right? And then he did one better, and he moved the whole thing to Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. So I don't mean to diss anyone. I'm thrilled that there are people like Dixon and Bijan and Mike Hirschland and Fred Wilson that are investing in interesting things. It's just that a disproportionate number of them.
Hirschland spends half his time here. So.
Right, he might as well live here, right? And Bijan and they all are here a lot. So I don't think it's about, it shouldn't be about arrogance, it shouldn't be about privilege, it's just about a set of resources that exist in Silicon Valley that make it easier to make a set of connections, to find the right people who understand. You need to find a Dave McClure who says, look, here's how you think about marketing in the 2010s, right?
Yeah. All right, so I want to make sure we actually end this segment remotely on time. So last word from both of you, what percentage of existing Sand Hill Road firms, and that's euphemism for established VC funds, do you think will be out of business in the next 10 years?
More than 30%.
Yeah, oh, totally. I was going to...
50%?
I know, it'll be interesting. Is it 50 or 30? It's a big percentage. I think that's totally healthy. I don't think that that's a problem for the industry. I think it's healthy for the industry. But
I think it's overdue for the industry.
But there'll be lots of great venture investments, and there'll be lots of firms that...
Silicon Valley will still do 75% of the world's venture capital.
It does a third of the world's venture capital right now.
A third?
Yeah.
Maybe it's 75% in the U.S. It's pretty...
a third of the U.S. I'm not even sure it does a third of the world's venture capital. But I think it's going to maintain its market share.
All right. Wow, the actual silence to end that one. Join us tomorrow where we'll have the final installment of the Battle of the Davids, which is about last week's hot issue, Get excited, nerds. Convertible debt versus equity.